Hey guys, this is Christopher here. I'm finally getting to do the review for the Star Wars Ray Jakku 3 3/4 inches speeder. We got it from Hasbro. They were kind enough to provide it for us. And it's pretty cool looking on the package. I mean, one thing that I did correct was originally in the package, this staff didn't fit. It was all bent up and out of shape because it was kind of jammed in there. And I used a hair dryer and some ice water to straighten that out, and then I cut a little slit down in the bottom to stick the staff through so I didn't have that problem anymore in case I want to put it back in the package. Otherwise, you got this big nice picture here, and on the back you have another nice picture showing off some of the features of the speeder and Ray itself, and it's got some advertisements and of course 50 million different warning labels and legal stuff that nobody actually reads. But otherwise, it's pretty cool looking, but let's go ahead and open her up. So here it is out of the packaging. And it's a pretty cool figure overall, though I do have some pretty big problems with it. We'll start with Sculpt. So one thing I loved is this face sculpture. You can see in the eyes and the goggles, it's done very well. The cloth all has great texture all across. It's very visible from far away. And I love that if you look at the face here, you can actually see a little bump where the nose is. And I love that little detail. I think that's awesome. On top of that, right here on the shoulder plate, you can see some detail. And also on the bag back here, there's some cool details sculpted in. I like that a lot. The paint, however, was like the opposite. I have a lot of problems with the paint on this figure. So like right here, you can see up close, there's some splotching going on from this sash to this part of the clothes. They're different colors, and they just bled over pretty bad. And on the feet here, on the boot, you can see there's skin color on the boot, and then boot color on the skin. And then over here, there's this brown dot. I don't even know how they got it in there. But, I mean, the brown is over here, and that's like tucked underneath the sash. So it's pretty irritating, although it is kind of easy to hide. It's just surprising that they even managed to splotch the paint there. And then back here on the back, there's a really bad splotch. You know, luckily those are some similar colors, so from a distance, it's going to hold up pretty well. But, you know, when you get up close with them, they're pretty easy to see, and that's pretty disappointing. As far as articulation goes, these are 3 3/4 inches characters. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of articulation. For instance, the head here, it doesn't really turn, and it doesn't really crunch. That's mostly because this sash here is actually one whole piece attached to the head, which means that you're not going to get any movement because it's all kind of strapped in there. And the sash actually makes a lot of the articulation on this figure very limited. More limited than most figures this size. For instance, the arms can't really go up or backwards because this sash actually prevents it. And it's the same on the other arm, though it can go a little bit more forward. It gets blocked once again, not by the shoulder plate, but by this section of the sash back here, which is a little bit unfortunate. And the only other articulation point is the legs, and you can bend her this way, the legs forward, so that she can sit, and she sits pretty well, if you see, which is nice, but there's no backward movement. So for instance, this bag stops that leg from moving back farther than that, which is pretty bad. And then this leg gets stopped once again by the sash right about here, and you might be able to force it up more if you wanted, but I wouldn't. So that really limits the articulation and posability of this figure, especially considering she's actually fairly hard to get standing up straight, even just without any fancy articulation going on. She's pretty top heavy, and since she has no knee joints or ankle joints, that's pretty much all you can do, which is kind of rough. As far as accessories go, there's really only her staff, which is made out of this soft plastic, and as I said before, it didn't actually fit in the packaging, and it was pretty bent up. And I did a lot of work to try to fix it, and you can see it's a lot straighter here than some of the pictures in the article. But one thing that I do love about it is made out of a soft plastic, and you can actually strap it onto her if you're willing to kind of stretch that soft plastic a little bit. So you can go like this, and then she's actually wearing her staff, which I think is pretty cool. You know, the more I can set it up and use the accessories with the figure, the happier I'll be. The only problem with it is it does tend to bend it a little bit on the back, but I just fix any bending with a hair dryer and some ice water. You just heat it up a little bit with the hair dryer and then straighten it and put it into the ice water, and it'll cool down in the place you want it. Just be very careful doing that because, I mean, you can do a lot of damage to the paint or to the sculpt of the accessory you're doing it to. Luckily, this staff isn't really all that specially painted or sculpted. It's just pretty simple black and white with some textured sculpting across. It's not bad, but it's not great, so I wouldn't worry too much about it with this. So the speeder itself is actually pretty cool. The sculpt on it is awesome. I love that they have this dent here. It's pretty cool. It's actually in the show too, which is rad that they included that. They also have all this sculpting going on inside of the cockpit with some cool details, and all throughout the saddle, and then the back on the engine they have more, as well as in the front on this grill here, which is pretty cool. Only problem with the sculpt on this figure is that just a Lucasfilm copyright and Hasbro kind of stamped on the side. And it's pretty obvious because it's on the yellow paint and it's like right on the side of the figure. I wish they would have put it on the bottom, or maybe not included it at all, considering that they have like 50 legal things all over the package anyways. So, I mean, it just seems a little bit weird that they put that there. But other than that, the sculpt is pretty awesome. The paint is almost as disappointing as race paint was. You can see right here on the seat, there's all this silver coming off onto that dark color. That's pretty easy to see. And on top of that, the silver of these little engine parts inside this net are just splotching all over the place. Like, it's really bad. And that was pretty disappointing. I do like all the wear and tear paint, which was intentional on their part, and it makes it look pretty cool. But really, I just think they need to start caring enough to take these little figures and make sure that their paint is neat, because it's gotten pretty bad on these two. Obviously, the speeder doesn't really have much accessories other than the fact that this net comes off, and it's a pain to put back on, so I don't really want to take it all the way off. But the staff can actually fit right here in the net, which I had no idea the first time I had it and I wrote the review on it. I don't know why, it was right on the box, but it's pretty cool that you can do that. I like that quite a bit. And then the only other accessory is this gun that pops out, and it shoots a little laser out of it. I'm not personally going to be playing with the toy that much. It's more for just showing off and setting up with my other 3/4 inches. But I mean, if you want to have the cannon out, you can. It looks pretty cool. It's got good detail work, but it's not really something that I'm big on, so I tend to keep it closed, make it look more like the film. The articulation of the speeder is pretty limited. I mean, it's really not supposed to be posed very much other than just turning it, although there are some cool little features that you might not know about. So the windshield actually comes off, and I don't know why you would take it off, but you can if you want to. And one thing that I really liked is these little back flaps move, and I know that no one is going to notice that little degree when I have it set up, but I'll notice. And that's all that really matters, right? Is I like it, and I like that it can do that. And I think that's pretty cool. And of course, once again, the gun pops up. If you want to have it set up so that that's showing, you can. I personally think it looks much better with it down. So there's the figure, guys. Let me know what you think. Make sure that you go into Hasbro if you want to buy it, and give them a shout out because they were nice enough to send this to us. And it's a pretty cool figure. Like I said, I do have some problems with it, mainly the paint. But otherwise, it's a great figure, and I'm a big fan of speeders. So personally, I'm a sucker for it. And let me know what you guys think in the comments.